To seek truth would be to search for the congruence of all things in terms of what is real. But there are a lot of things involved in seeking truth. There are a lot of things we need if we're really going to seek truth with any kind of seriousness, you know. I would say, first of all, that seeking truth demands courage and receptivity. I think if we're asked to look at truth, we have to want to know what is true. Sometimes we don't want to know what's true. It's hard to accept what is true at times. But there has to be that openness, receptivity, and courage to face it if it is difficult. In addition to that, I think seeking truth also demands a kind of humility. You know, I have to be willing to say, maybe I don't have the whole truth, or maybe there's another side to look at that I haven't seen, and to be open to that. Now, again, a person of faith, I think, when we're really serious about trying to find the truth or the rightness or the wrongness of any issue, we would be encouraged to pray to the Holy Spirit and to be asked to be led, to be asked that we might know the truth, that the Spirit might show us the way. And then also, it seems to me, you know, there is a need also for some work on our part, to study the truth, to think about the truth, to discuss it with others, to really ponder it along with our prayer, and to really make an effort to seek what it is. And that is so, so important. I guess, you know, it's not what one sees a whole lot in today's culture.
Okay, so how to seek truth, or what does it mean to seek truth? To me, it means to remain curious, to always be curious about what's happening in the world, what you're being told, what's behind the message, all of those kind of things that, actually, I think part of that curiosity is that I think God is reflected in all things. And so as we begin to pursue truth, we want to be curious about who people are, where they're from, what motivates them, what is the motivation for what they're saying or not saying. So I think being curious is an important thing, to get beyond prejudice and racism, all those isms. So being curious about discovering the little bit of God in each one of our, in the world, I guess.
So for us to seek truth, what does that mean? I would like to suggest there's 3 steps to that for us. There's, first of all, you have the reality, and we take time to question what that is. What does it mean? What's its impact? You know, what influence does that fact have? What reality does it represent? And we question that in a broad sense. The second piece of that is, after we reflect and have some questions about it, we take some time to step back and to think it through. What were the answers to those questions that we had about what truth is? And so there's reflection. And lastly, after having reflected and thought it through, one repositions oneself of what that reality, what that fact is. So it's question, reflect, reposition. And I think that's a good process that as Dominicans, we do in looking at what is true, what is reality, what is the fact, is to take a step back, formulate some questions regarding it, take some time to think that through and reflect on it, and then lastly, reposition. Take another stand on it or another way of looking at something in a different manner.
I think it means you're always on the path. It means you've never settled in and said, okay, I know it, I'm over. No. It means we're always in process. I think about the new cosmology, and I've studied that with Brian Swim and Matt Fox when I was in California. And they opened my eyes in a brand new way. So I think seeking truth means you're just always studying. Of course, the other piece of Dominicanism is study, you know? And I think that's why, because if you're seeking it, you have to keep studying. You have to keep reading. You have to keep talking to people. You can't just say, oh, I know it. I mean, I can in math. I know 1 + 1 is 2. That's not going to change. So I sometimes take comfort in numbers because it's like sometimes you can't dispute those. But on the other hand, opinions change, circumstances change. So seeking truth means you just have to keep, you can't say, oh, I studied it all and, you know, I've got my degree, I'm done. It's like, that was a beginning. That was a beginning. Life continues to go on, so you have to keep staying in tune, staying up to date, talking with others, learning. I know I appreciate being on campus because they have speakers come in to give us different viewpoints, and they have opportunities, you know, book club and all that kind of thing. So we're always in process.
Well, I do a lot of listening when I seek truth. I listen to the people around me. I listen to nature, listen to the scriptures. Yeah, that's primarily the way my entry into it. The other thing is I study. I enjoy study. I like to read. I like to learn. Sometimes I go to workshop where I'm doing a lot of listening, of course, and interacting with others. But I like information, but not for the sake of information, but for the sake of the light it puts on the world and what's going on. I'd like to be informed about issues, current issues that are going on in the world. And so I'm almost a political junkie, if you would say. People get after me for wanting to listen to the news all the time. But for me, I think being informed is a way that I know then what I can do, or at least I can think about how I'm going to respond to this latest information I have. Because I don't think, even though I arrive at points where I say, this feels true, it's a lifetime to search for truth. And that's why we say seek truth. It's an activity. And I don't know that anybody ever gets to the final truth, maybe till we die. And then I'm not sure. I'm guessing that we find some truth then. But until then, we're seeking. And it's nice to be seeking with other people.